Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you all for being here this morning. I want to compliment the New Mexico Aviation Aerospace Association for putting this roundtable together, and it's great to be with you. And it's another beautiful day in New Mexico. Great flying weather as always, and it's something that we should all, from a, not just from a tourism standpoint, but from a business development standpoint when we talk about this industry. I know we're a little behind, so I'm going to abbreviate my comments somewhat, but I do want to hit some high points today. Talk about New Mexico's assets, talk about some of the challenges we have, some of the legislation that I know the governor is going to support, and we're going to hopefully get some bipartisan support as we reach out to the legislature for some changes that will make New Mexico more competitive, especially when it comes to this industry. I want to first of all say, modestly, that New Mexico, with all due respect to the states that Pete pointed out, North Dakota, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida. I know there are other states out there trying to promote themselves as the leaders in aviation and aerospace. Frankly, none of those states, not one of those states, have the assets that New Mexico has. We're peerless when it comes to that. And we have to do some things to improve our position when it comes to attracting those types of companies and jobs, which are very high paying, very coveted. Those are the things that we're after. It's certainly one of our target areas in the New Mexico Economic Development Department. We've had some successes in the less than 2 years that we've been in office. But let me state once again that New Mexico is the leader when it comes to assets in the whole country. We should be the leader when it comes to aviation and aerospace. From R&D to testing and evaluation, all the way to manufacturing. Let me explain. We're the only state right now that has a spaceport. It's done. It's completed. It's a fabulous facility. I know there's a dozen or so other states that are looking to get into the spaceport business, but we're far ahead of the game. We do have a challenge, and one challenge I'll get to down the road here in my talk, but we have this spaceport. It's a $209 million investment that the state has made. Virgin Galactic is our anchor tenant, but many others are looking at it. We're trying to promote that spaceport. It has unrestricted airspace. It's the one of only 2 places in the country that has unrestricted airspace. Understand the other one is in Washington, D.C. Patty and I were talking about that ring of death there as you fly into D.C. The White House in that area has unrestricted airspace as well, but we have that in New Mexico. We mentioned the military assets that we have here, and the military assets, again, are almost incomparable. We have testing and evaluation centers and R&D centers here in the state, the Air Force Research Lab. Pete mentioned the Air Force bases. White Sands Missile Range is a tremendous asset that we have here in southern New Mexico. And one area that people always forget is Fort Bliss and the McGregor Range. People forget that 85% of Fort Bliss's land is in New Mexico. Everyone thinks of it as an El Paso base, but there's a lot of opportunity we have there to promote what goes on at the McGregor Range and at Fort Bliss as well. We have 2 national laboratories here. We have incomparable, we've said many times already, airspace and weather throughout the entire state. No doubt about that. In my opinion, we also have a burgeoning and excellent education infrastructure for the aviation and aerospace industry. We have many folks here, whether it's the university system. I see Dr. Elliott here, and others from higher education. We have a community college system here, which is training our students to not only work on engines and avionics, but also to do things like painting planes over at Roswell. We have our friends here from the SAMS Academy here in Albuquerque. I was honored to be at their grand opening, and they are actively promoting aviation and aerospace here at the Double Eagle Airport at the high school level, which is preparing kids to take these types of competitive jobs. So we've got an expanding educational infrastructure for that. Airports, we have a number of rural airports that, believe it or not, have runway space of 10,000 feet. It's incomparable. You won't find that in many states. Finally, I want to compliment our workforce. I have my colleague here, Secretary Hale, who's been working tirelessly on trying to promote jobs for veterans. We have, because of all of the Air Force and military bases here in New Mexico, a large number of military retirees. And those that are looking for second careers, those that have worked in aviation and aerospace, it's a tremendous asset that we have. We just passed a bill, thanks to bipartisan support in the legislature, The governor signed into law that provides a tax credit for veterans who are hired here in New Mexico, and Secretary Hale was a big part of getting that legislation passed. So we're very, very proud of that.